what if gravity isn't actually pulling anything?
Hmm.
What if that entire sensation of falling isn't about attraction at all, but about permission?
It's the ultimate curveball to start the day.
It really is.
But that is exactly what we are grappling with for today's deep dive. We are looking at a text titled Gravity, the Fallacy of Fall. And to even begin to engage with this material, you essentially have to take everything you learned in high school physics, Newton, the falling apple, the gravitational constant, and just put it in a box, tape it shut, and shove it under the bed for the next 20 minutes.
The fallacy of fall, I mean, it sounds like a philosophical thriller.
It does.
But looking at the source material you sent over, this is actually a pretty dense, almost re-engineering of how we view physical space entirely. The core argument here is that we are looking at the mechanics of the universe through completely the wrong lens. We see force, but the text says we should actually be looking at buoyancy.
The text proposes that we shift our entire perspective from a gravitational universe where, mass attracts mass to an electrical universe. And in an electrical universe, falling isn't an active event caused by a pull. It's a passive event caused by a lack of support.
A lack of support. It's a, what did the text call it? A structural issue.
Yes, a structural issue.
It makes it sound like the apple falling from the tree is due to a building code violation in the atmosphere or something.
Like the air just didn't pass inspection.
Yeah. Like the air just isn't up to code to hold an apple.
The source argues that what we perceive as this heavy, inevitable hand of gravity is actually a very subtle interplay of electrical fields, pressure, and density.
Okay.
It's not about the Earth reaching out with some invisible rope and grabbing the apple. It's about the air simply failing to hold it up.
So let's break this down a bit, because this is where my brain really started doing gymnastics. We have to start with the old narrative.
Sure.
Isaac Newton, the apple tree. The story we all know is that the apple detaches. And because the Earth is just so massive, it exerts a force that actively drags the apple down. That's our baseline.
Right, that's the active agent model. Gravity is a force. It does work. But this text flips that entirely. It asks you to think about this. When a stone sinks in water, did the Earth pull the stone through the water? Or did the water simply fail to support the stone?
Okay, well, I mean, in normal physics class, we'd say it's both, right?
Right.
Gravity pulls, and the buoyancy of the water resists.
Sure.
But this source is suggesting we remove the pull from the equation entirely.
Exactly. Focus purely on the support, or the lack thereof. The source uses the term buoyancy to describe the structural integrity of the field around an object.
Okay.
It argues that the air, the actual space surrounding that apple on the branch, lacks the stiffness to support the compressed potential of the apple.
Compressed potential. That's the text's fancy way of saying mass or density.
Essentially, yes. If you think of the apple as a very dense, electrically tight object,
Right.
the air around it is, by comparison, loose, chaotic, and electrically weak. So when the stem breaks, the apple doesn't fall because it's being dragged to the ground.
It falls because the environment effectively says, hey, I am not strong enough to keep you up here.
Exactly.
And this is where that keyword permission comes in. Because the text explicitly says evidence reads much more cleanly when we treat it as permission. So the air is basically just stepping aside.
It's a supported relational permission.
Supported relational permission.
Yes. The field permits the apple to move. But, and this is a really key distinction, it's not just falling randomly into a void. It is moving specifically to a place where the field is strong enough to actually hold it.
So it's looking for a comfortable seat.
It is. The apple wanders downward until it finds a layer of the environment, in this case the ground, that is stiff enough to say, okay, I gotcha, you can stop now.
Okay, so if we apply this to, say, me tripping over a curb, I didn't fall because gravity attacked me. I fell because the air wasn't dense enough to let me walk on it, so I had to go down to the pavement, which was dense enough to hold me.
Precisely. The text describes the fall as a journey of balance and coherence.
A journey of balance.
It implies that the object is always seeking a place where it fits energetically. It's not a violent crash, it's just a rebalancing act.
But let's get into the actual nuts and bolts of why it moves down. Because if it's not magnetic attraction in the way we usually think about it, and it's not a rope pulling it down, what is driving the bus here? Why is down the direction of balance?
This is where we have to get a little bit more technical. We mentioned earlier that this is an electrical universe theory.
Yes.
The source states that the relationship between the object and the field is defined by electrical potential. It says objects fall in the direction of increased potential towards the Earth's positive center.
Okay, hold on. Positive center.
Yeah.
Because I remember playing with magnets when I was a kid. Positive repels positive. If the Earth is this giant positive center and the apple is positive matter, shouldn't it shoot off into space?
You would think so.
Why aren't we all just flying off the planet right now?
You would absolutely think so if we were sticking to standard magnetic models, but the source operates on a very different internal logic regarding potential. It views the Earth not as a magnet repelling things, but as a zone of high electrical density.
Like a high-pressure zone.
Exactly. Think of it like a voltage gradient. The text explicitly states that relatively electropositive bodies fall, while predominantly electronegative bodies rise. Most solid matter we interact with, rocks, keys, apples, ourselves, has a compact electrical configuration. They're dense.
Right.
So they are relatively electropositive compared to the atmosphere. The atmosphere is sparse, it's loose. So the object naturally moves towards the Earth's center to find a zone where the field line potentials map.
Oh, it's density matching. It's trying to find its own kind.
Yes. It's moving from a low-pressure environment, the air, to a high-pressure environment, the ground, because that's where it belongs structurally.
It makes sense.
It's seeking the place where the electrical pressure of the environment perfectly matches its own internal pressure.
And this naturally leads to my absolute favorite metaphor in the entire text, the weight. Because if gravity isn't the force pulling us, what is that actual sensation of weight? What is that measurement of G the scientists use?
It's a brilliant image. The source essentially calls gravity a secondary effect. It says gravity is just the wake left by electrical rebalancing.
Right. Like, think about a boat moving through a lake.
Okay.
You see the waves crashing against the shore. You can feel the disturbance in the water. But the waves didn't move the boat. The boat moving caused the waves.
Exactly.
So gravity is the check engine light. It's not the engine itself.
That pull we measure, that famous 9.8 meters per second squared, that is just the symptom.
Wow.
The cause is the object desperately trying to resolve its electrical tension with the environment. It is rushing to find equilibrium. The force we feel is literally just the turbulence of that rush.
It really does turn the entire model upside down. We usually think of gravity as the boss, the thing running the whole show. But here, gravity is just the exhaust fumes of a completely different process.
And it changes the definition of space itself. Instead of empty space containing objects, you have a field.
Right.
And to help us visualize this invisible field, because, let's be honest, electrical pressure gradients are pretty hard to picture in your head.
Very hard.
The source brings in two really heavy-hitting analogies. One involves sand, and the other involves gel.
I definitely want to start with the sand.
Yes.
This is the cymatics reference.
Yes.
I've seen videos of this on YouTube where they put a metal plate on a speaker.
Exactly. Cymatics is the study of visible sound. You take a metal plate, sprinkle some fine sand on it, and then you play a specific sound frequency through the speaker underneath.
And the plate vibrates.
The plate vibrates.
And the sand doesn't just bounce around randomly, which is what you'd expect.
Yeah.
It forms these incredible, intricate geometric patterns.
It's mesmerizing.
It's like stars, grids, honeycombs. It literally looks like magic.
This is crucial for understanding the whole theory. The text points out that the sand isn't being pulled into those shapes by some invisible magnet.
Right.
The sand is migrating.
Migrating where, exactly?
To the quiet zones. When the plate vibrates, there are areas of high vibration, which are the peaks, and areas of almost no vibration, the nodes.
Oh, I see.
The sand just gets kicked out of the chaotic, high-energy areas and eventually settles into the valleys where it's calm.
So the pattern we see, that beautiful star shape, is actually just a map of where the vibration isn't.
Precisely. And the source argues this directly. It says objects don't fall downward through the landscape, but orientate themselves towards harmonic balance, just like the sand on the plate.
That is a really trippy thought. So we look at a solar system or a galaxy or even just a rock sitting in the dirt and we think, oh, gravity pulled that there.
Right.
But maybe, like the sand, matter is just getting kicked out of the high energy zones and is settling into the invisible grooves of some cosmic standing wave.
Exactly. It suggests the universe has a geometry we can't see, but matter reveals it to us. We are all just grains of sand finding the quiet spots on a vibrating cosmic plate.
That fills the void of space with a lot of structure all of a sudden. It's not empty, it's humming.
It is humming. And if that's a bit too abstract, because I know sound waves in space can be a leap for some people.
Fair enough.
The second analogy brings it right down to earth, straight into the biology lab. Gel electrophoresis.
Okay. This is using electricity to separate DNA.
Correct. Imagine a slab of gel, like a really thick, clear Jell-O. You load proteins or DNA samples into the top of it. Then you turn on an electric field. One side is positive, one side is negative.
Okay.
And the proteins start to move through the gel.
And they separate based on their size and charge,
Yeah.
right? The little ones move fast, the big ones get stuck near the top.
Right. Now imagine you take that gel slab and you stand it up vertically. You're watching the proteins move down the gel.
Okay, so I'm picturing things dropping and then stopping at different levels.
The source says the permitted resolution looks gravitational. If you walked into that lab and didn't know there was an electrical current running through it, you would swear gravity was pulling those heavy proteins to the bottom.
Wow, but it's not. It's the electric field sorting them.
And they stop moving when they hit the exact point in the gel where the resistance matches their push. They find their equilibrium.
That makes perfect sense.
The source is saying to us, look at the gel. You know that's electricity at work. Now look at the universe. Why do you automatically assume that's gravity? Maybe the atmosphere is just a giant gel plate.
And we are all just proteins migrating through the ether until we hit the ground.
Until we find the place where our charge matches the environment. We aren't falling. We are resolving.
Resolving. I really like that word in this context. It makes the whole process sound so purposeful.
It does.
But, and I have to ask the practical question here, we are doing a deep dive, and we always like to look for the application. If falling is just a lack of support, a lack of stiffness in the field, then surely we can hack the system. Can we make things float?
That is the logical next step. And the source addresses it directly. It talks about levitation not as magic, but simply as the reversal of this same principle.
So if gravity is permission to fall, levitation is revoking the permission.
Exactly. You say, no, you cannot pass. And you do that by stiffening the field.
Stiffening the field, what does that actually mean in practice?
The text explains that if you make the surrounding environment more coherent, using sonic, electrical, or magnetic compression, you can literally support the mass.
Sonic compression, so like the sound waves on the sand plate we just talked about.
Yeah.
If you crank the volume, the pressure, high enough, the sand just can't settle.
Yes. Acoustic levitation is a real documented phenomenon we've achieved in labs. You use sound waves to create pockets of high pressure that can actually hold a water droplet or a small bead right there in midair. The source takes this known science and scales it up conceptually.
Okay.
It says the supporting medium must become stiffer, and it specifically describes this as having closed field line spacing stiffer than the object's internal field.
Okay, closed field line spacing. I'm imagining the invisible lines of the field getting packed tighter and tighter together until they form this solid platform.
Yes.
Like weaving a net so tight that water can't even get through it.
That is exactly the visualization. When the medium becomes denser or more coherent than the object itself, the object can no longer penetrate it. It can't fall.
So what does it do?
The text says the object will react and rise to find equilibrium.
It rises, just like a helium balloon rises in the air because it's less dense. But here, we aren't changing the balloon, we are changing the air.
Precisely.
We are making the empty space heavier or tighter than the rock, so the rock just floats up like a cork in water.
You've got it. It brings us right back to that core idea that position in space is totally relative. You are where you are because that is where you fit energetically.
Yeah.
If I can change the energy of the space around you, you will naturally move to a new location to find your match.
It makes levitation sound like simple engineering rather than wizardry. It's just density management.
It demystifies it completely. It suggests that if we truly understood how to manipulate the coherence of the field, how to create that specific compression, we wouldn't be fighting gravity at all.
Right. No more giant fuel tanks.
Exactly. We wouldn't need rockets to push violently against a force. We would just be adjusting the buoyancy of the space around the ship, and the ship would simply rise.
Which brings us all the way back to the start. We began with Newton and the apple, and this unquestioned idea of a universal pull. But we have landed somewhere completely different.
We have journeyed from a mechanical universe of pulling forces to an electrical universe of seeking balance. We went from gravity as a tether to gravity as buoyancy.
And I keep going back to that word permission. It's such a distinctly human word to apply to physics. The apple falls because the field permits it. It stops because the field supports it.
It changes the whole so what of the conversation. If we look at the synthesis of this deep dive, the source leaves us with a very strong philosophical conclusion.
Let's hear it.
It says gravity is not a force to drag us down, but is the indicator showing where coherence and balance waits.
Where coherence and balance waits. That paints a picture of the universe that is just so much less hostile. I think we often view gravity as this ultimate burden. It's the thing that makes us sag as we get older, makes lifting things heavy, makes climbing a mountain so hard, it's literally dragging us down.
Right, it's the enemy.
Yeah.
But in this view, that drag is actually guidance. It's the universe trying to slot you into the exact place where you are most supported.
Wow.
It's not dragging you down, it's pulling you towards stability. It's just trying to get you to a place where your potential perfectly matches the environment's ability to hold you.
It's basically the universe playing Tetris.
And it implies that everything is constantly seeking that state of rest. The wake of gravity is just the evidence of that constant, ongoing shuffling toward harmony.
Like, I'm looking at my coffee mug right now. It's sitting on the table.
Yeah.
In the old world, it's being pulled down and the table's blocking it. In this new world, the mug and the table are just in this handshake of electrical agreement. The table is stiff enough to match the mug's potential.
And if the table vanished, the mug would simply resume its journey to the next point of coherence, the floor.
But if we take a page from this electrical universe theory, falling isn't a failure at all. It's a natural movement toward where we truly fit. If you are falling, maybe you aren't crashing.
Right.
Maybe you are just moving from a place that couldn't support your potential anymore to a place that actually can. You're just seeking your own harmonic balance.
Perhaps the fall is just the transition to a more coherent state of being.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the weird and wonderful world of electrical gravity.
Always a pleasure to explore the impossible.